you? Did you go to school today? Did you have school?
Yes.
Did you have a great day at school? A few years ago, I moved with my kids and their dad to a new community, to a small suburb. We're excited about the move and looking forward to it. But for us as a family of color, as we were thinking about the things we needed to do before we got there, something that was really important was that we needed to take our younger son, who has a severe form of autism, to the police station, because we wanted to make sure that he was not seen as a stranger in the community. Did you get to see your friends?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you had a great day. I miss you. He is a teenager now. He's just a great kid. He is sweet and he's kind, and even though his language is very limited, he's very emotionally expressive. He's very social, likes connecting with people, loves to build, loves to draw, loves to sing and listen to music, and he loves the outdoors. I love you.
I love you, Mom.
Aw, give me a kiss. The fear was that, number one, he wouldn't be assumed to be a resident of the community. That number two, he'd be seen as a threat, as a stranger, as someone who could potentially be violent or cause harm. And none of these things are true. As a mother, I had an enormous amount of fear of what could potentially go wrong and the situations that he could be in where he absolutely couldn't protect himself. Being Black and having autism means there's always more to think about. He's already vulnerable because he's a Black male, and he's that much more vulnerable because he's so limited in his ability to communicate and in his ability to regulate his behavior.
Think about your kind of standard police interaction. Everything's based off vocal cues. When you don't have those communicational abilities, that already puts you in a huge barrier. And police officers aren't trained to know how to respond to that. They aren't trained to know, okay, what do I do if I pull over someone who has autism? What do I do if I need to make a traffic stop and they can't speak to me? So all of a sudden, they're left stranded, and that scares them. And when they're scared, we've seen what happens.
I truly believe that law enforcement needs better education, specifically around working with vulnerable communities and people who are disabled, specifically developmentally disabled, and even like my son on the more severe end of that. There has to be better education. They are community members like anyone else. They have the same rights, they should have the same privileges, and they should have the same sense of safety and protection in the community.
It's not just that he needs there's the risk of additional helplessness because he's a Black male. It's not just because that's a sole isolated factor. You also add the communicational aspect and the fact that he can't verbally respond to the police.
He doesn't understand what they're saying. He doesn't understand what his rights are. How can he protect himself? He doesn't understand what his rights are. If they're asking him questions and he doesn't understand what the questions are or doesn't have the verbal ability to answer, how can he advocate for himself? So we made a conscious effort to bring our son to the police station, to introduce him there to, the folks there, let him know who he is, what his limitations are, and what our expectations were for how they treat him in the community. I was pleased that they responded positively to it, but I knew that that couldn't be a justification to let my guard down. Does it feel unfair that families like ours are in situations where we have to advocate for our vulnerable family members like that? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. But the reality of it is, if you're a Black person in this country, you're already aware that that's the added burden that we carry. If police are going to be continuing, to be called in to engage with people that have these disabilities and have these challenges, they've got to be better informed about how to do that safely.
Are you having a good day?
I hope that we're making it easier for the next Black boy that comes into that community, that comes into another community, that faces the same sort of unfair scrutiny. And so, my hope is in the long run that each of these are, kind of bricks in the wall that really build and strengthen relationships and do increase awareness. When you hear people like me, mothers like me, talk about autism awareness, what we're talking about is everybody in a community understanding what autism is, understanding how that might show up in your neighbor. I think the more people who have a better understanding of exactly what it is, we start to create communities that are safer places for people on the autism spectrum. My hope for both of my children, like any mother, I want them to live full lives, happy lives, productive lives, and to be safe, and to truly believe that any opportunity they want is theirs for the taking.
Bye-bye, Mom.
Oh, I love you. Bye-bye. Real change is going to come through the difficult conversations that I think people are starting to have. Uncomfortable but really important conversations. And as has been said, Black people can't change this. Black people don't own the power structures to change this. This is about white allies coming forward, acknowledging what's real, and making real changes to systems. And that's driven through honest conversation about what's happening.